creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And the big challenge, I think, for this group is just for this presentation alone, think outside your locality. I think from the looks of the roster, everybody here represents a single locality. And it's easier for me to say because I'm from the Planning District Commission, so we're automatically more than one locality. But thinking regionally is not easily acquired. It takes some practice, especially if you think of the people who are paying you and your mission, and it can be very narrowly defined. So we're into thinking regionally, looking beyond the boundaries of your locality and how you might work together to accomplish common goals for the region to sort of make that rising tide lift all boats. So we structured it this way through the Strengthening Economies Together program. We were selected in the first round of set Strengthening Economies Together programs in Virginia. We were 2 regions in Virginia went through the initial set. There are 2 more going through it now. It's a USDA-sponsored competitive program. And at the time that we the Northern Neck, did it, it was a 9-month program. Once a month, this group met to go through various modules to come together to produce an economic development plan for the region. Now the program is much shorter. From what I understand, it's like a 4 to 5 month program. And again, but the object is to produce an economic development plan for the region. And how we think of it as an ecosystem, the living and non-living things work together. What's in your community that you can't change? We're a peninsula. We've got rivers, or between Potomac and Rappahannock rivers, and the fronting on the Chesapeake Bay. If you are in Washington, you jump in the Potomac, swim down to the mouth, and that's that long stretch on your right. The left is Maryland, on the right is the Northern Neck. So we're on the western shore, just to clarify, the Chesapeake Bay. And our transportation system, represented by that 6-car ferry there, is really limited. We have a lot of 2-lane roads. We don't have any cross-bay car ferries. We just do cross-river car ferries. We have a lot of traditional industries like the packing company. We do a lot of oyster-related, seafood-related industries. We are very historic. That's the home of Robert E. Lee and the Lee family of Virginia. George Washington was born there. James Madison was born in the Northern Neck, as was James Monroe. So, and this is, that's one, oh yeah, and the bottom, which sort of didn't come up, is a snap of the Menhaden fishing fleet. We have a lot of industries that are going through change, through regulation or whatever. So we knew we had to do something to address a lot of the economic problems, the structural problems of the region. So the living things. What's in our community that we can work with, that we can change, that we can manipulate, infrastructure that we can maybe augment a little bit to help. So we had a coordinating entity in place for economic development. The Northern Neck, the 4 counties were designated an economic development district by the U.S. Department of Commerce. So we were accustomed to working together. We also had an economic development partnership that was accustomed to working together and working cross-county, cross-profession. And so we had something to base this economic development plan on. So we had that advantage. And that's the website for the set plan, the final product. And also the issues that we had to deal with, which are not atypical. We had a workforce youth hemorrhage from the area. This is not just in our area, but it's rural Virginia and it's rural America. So there are a lot of problems that we had to deal with respect to workforce and keeping folks in the area. Which we, by the way, I will say this, preface this, that all our change is incremental. So, and again, we're getting to measure that a little bit later. So we need to change. I kind of went through this. Okay, how we work together. We identified a lot of strategic partnerships. We brought a lot of people to the table who hadn't been at the economic development table before. Just so you know, we did have a planner from one of our counties very involved in this as well, which was a great benefit. So please don't hesitate in your own communities. If there is an economic development plan afoot, get into that and don't be shy, and that you have a place at the table, because all the decisions that you are making have economic consequences. And if others need to realize it as well as your contributions. So what happened with the plan we really tried to get everyone involved because of the community development piece, because we really had to understand community development before we got into economic development. And getting everybody on board had a lot to do with buy-in and a successful plan going forward. What we got, the emerging ecosystem, what it looks like now. As a result of this great plan that we did, bringing the community together, we were able to go after a lot of grants that we weren't previously able to go forward with. We were able to get a Building Collaborative Communities grant, actually 2 of them from the Department of Health and Community Development, several USDA grants. And all of these were based on this plan because we had identified specific goals, actions, who's responsible, tasks, and timelines in this plan that we could write a proposal and point to the plan and say, see, this is something the entire community agrees on, we're in it, and we're ready to put skin in the game, what are you going to do to help us? And grantors really like to hear that, because what they don't want is to fund a program that only has a little bit of support in the community or sort of this outlier idea that somebody may think would work. They really want something that's evidence-based and that has broad approval. So these are some of our little wins that you can read up there. And thank you, Scott, for that CDL planning study to determine whether we need a workforce program for that, getting a long time. And we did a lot of community revitalizations. Again, we used that plan to go after DHCD money for downtown revitalization projects. And we have 3, actually there are planning grants for Warsaw and a village underway as well. So in another town. So what we do with the ecosystem that we're developing. We have actually gone back to the plan. It's a living document. We have added a goal. We have updated it, things we've done, things that we can kind of cross off the list, but it's not that we're all finished. We add other things and as we go forward. So it's very important if you have an economic development plan, don't let it sit on the shelf. Use it, update it, revise it, and make sure it has a home in your organization. And then this is how we measure things in rural areas that are understudied. This is the number of reporting businesses for sales tax in the last 3 years. And it's tiny. You can see each little county, it looks like nothing's happened for the last several years. But if you aggregate it together, it's actually a 10% bit of growth. So if you are in rural areas, like with all due respect to VEDP, we're nowhere on the Yes Virginia piece as a region. So when I go to combine our numbers and figure out what's happening in our area, I have to do it myself because nobody studies us because we're too small and insignificant. But to us, we're very significant. So figuring out what's happening is really important for your community and to report that back so that people know that things are happening, what progress is happening in your area. So what holds communities together? Think about your community. And I have super glue or oyster shell mortar because for us, it's oyster shell mortar. You know, the big box retailers and all, that's not community. Your community is what's authentic, what you grow yourself, what can't be outsourced. And try to think about those things when you put together this economic development plan because that will make it true, authentic, and have some staying power. And thank you. I'm going to pour over.
That's perfect. Thanks, Lisa.